Kia ora guys and welcome back to the black jersey. Although I have finally updated my 2010 Wales jersey to a 2023 one, we are here in today's video to discuss Argentina versus Japan. A massive thank you to my patrons who are of course sponsoring the video and everything. It was a very tense clash that I've really wanted to go over all week, so it's really good to finally just let the dust settle, examine this thing and see how it went. To be honest, Los Pumas, Japan, both issues with consistency, but it was almost like Los Pumas were just a big cat toying with their prey, allowing them to believe there was still a chance before they just gobbled the prey up and ate it whole. It was a very entertaining game, and so the biggest question ahead of this World Cup, it's not actually about if the All Blacks can beat Ireland, it's not if the Springboks can beat France, it's which Pumas team is going to turn up. So guys, did we get any clue about which Pumas team is going to turn up to face Wales? Well, let's find out in today's video. Let's get into this. The first try looks like an absolute defensive howler by the Japanese when viewed in full motion, but even though a defensive mistake happens, I've come to see this try as a good rugby brain overriding his team's game plan. Bertrand is obviously at 9, but the attack structure looks a bit off, with Gomez Kodea standing in as the first receiver. This isn't tactical at all, he's simply leaving the breakdown now that it's over, before recognizing what the team needs to do. Santiago Chocobares is supposed to be in his channel, with the rest of the backline following him to the inside, so that a hands down the line movement looks like this. Gomez Kodea is an experienced player though, at 38 years old, so runs a simple decoy line. Now that we hit the first minute of the clock, we'll now see that he's prevented Leach from drifting to the open side, because both Carrerases are looping around to slot in between Sinti at 13 and Boffelli at 14. The 4 Japanese players are made to mark 5 attackers. We can now see their defensive lines through the white arrows. Either Boffelli or Chocobares will be left unmarked based on whether Japan follow the arrows we see on screen or drift towards the open side as they need to. Because the Carrerases aren't able to get around in time due to Japan's line speed, Chocobares prepares to take the ball into contact before realizing he can communicate with the players out the back. Because he does get a bit of those comms, he transfers the ball to his left arm alone in preparation to offload to Sinti, who can then distribute to the 3 players who will be on the outside. Nakamura though misses the tackle on Chocobares. Instead of playing to the outside, Chocobares then plays off his instincts. He then steps Lomano Lemeki to score an absolutely outstanding try though. Amato Fakatava though, Japan's true breakout star of 2023. Absolutely phenomenal player though. I'm not going to ruin this with analysis. He scores one of the best tries I've seen in my entire lifetime, and that really just gets the score even. It is game on from the Japanese. Awesome try to Fakatava. The reason this video took me so long to make though was the time I spent trying to figure out Los Pumas' kicking game. What we can see here is obviously the end of a kicking war that Los Pumas have got the advantage of, thanks to Labuskakni being in the bin for Japan. Malia is coming onto the ball at pace, aiming to catch it on the red cross after Matsushima sends it airborne. What we can also see when we zoom in though is Julian Montoya and Gonzalo Bertrand coming back on side so that they can twist around to support Malia. Argentina have intentionally broken the fields down so that 3 key decision makers for the team can thrive in chaos. Montoya is just a meter away from Malia when he lands, while Bertrand, having been next to Gomez Kodea, has the fitness to catch up. Because Japan are down to 14, Montoya can advance forward to collect the offload while unmarked, with a massive gap between Jorge and the tackle made on Bertrand. The next freeze frame on 27-25 now demonstrates Bertrand also able to go through a gap between Jorge and a tackle. The initial gap from the previous frame has brought Matsuda out of the backfield to take down Montoya. Since Jorge is a type 5 forward, it doesn't take a master's in physics to know Bertrand is breaking the line. Bertrand eventually runs sideways to link up with Mateo Carreras, who gets Los Pumas' second try. I'm not just going to harp on about Los Pumas being great all video though. I do want to give some credit to Japan. Naoto Saitō got an awesome second try for them, so we'll now have a look at that one. Japan's attack may look a bit odd to the naked eye, but the reason for it looking this way is because Matsuda has 2 possible hands down the line options. Both Labuskakni, who's now back on the pitch, and Nakamura can pass to Riley on the outside, while Fafita has wrapped around from a carry in midfield to return to his position on the wing. With Labuskakni in front of Nakamura, but to the left a little bit, his decoy line would force Boffelli to mark 2 players as well. We'll just acknowledge Lemeki out on the backfield as well, since there remains the opportunity opportunity for him to slot in between the other attackers to provide a support line. One last thing we'll do with this freeze frame is zoom in to see Saitō. He's running between some defenders so we can get further down the field in advance of a line break. Riley at 100 kg, he's now able to draw in 2 defenders because he's got Labuskakani still floating on the inside. Boffelli rushes in to help Sinti, but leaves Fafita and Matsushima, the 2 quickest Japanese players, on the outside. Now that we cut to 37-25, the average person will lambast Malia for bad defense, but it's a case of Fafita's rugby brain striking. At 105 kg, he's easily able to run over Malia, but he's also quick enough to advance forward on the inside. He also, as we zoom in a little, has the ball in both hands. He has the option to make the clear and obvious pass to Matsushima, who Malia is marking, but he can also make an inside pass as well. Although he probably passes to Saitō a little later than I'd have hoped, his initial dummy on the outside has worked. This allows for Saitō, who we showed working his way here before, to get the try. Now as we look at the halftime stats, things are very even. Argentina are up to 15 points, Japan is up to 14, but do not let this fool you. You can see with the possession and the territory stats, Los Pumas just have an ever so slight control over the match thanks to the early edge they attained through Chocobares' outstanding try. We go over to the meters run, we see there's definitely a pretty close record over here. Same with the defenders beaten, same with the clean breaks, but the big key thing over here is the turnovers won. This is very unlike Argentina not to dominate this front of the game. Japan were really doing well not to concede the turnovers. They were piling bodies into the breakdown, and so Wales, who have a bit more of a track record doing this, can Argentina stand up to that pressure based on the first half alone? We'll find out. I'm going to discuss the tackle accuracy as I normally do a little bit later in the video because first half I think we'll leave this alone based on Argentina's stats. The ruck success though, we can really see that though Japan aren't conceding the turnovers, they aren't really able to bully Los Pumas. They can stay in the game, but they can't necessarily take control of the breakdown because Los Pumas are definitely bigger than the Japanese pack, so they're able to retain ball far better, whereas Japan, they were having a few knock-ons in the breakdown. That's why 2 of their own rucks got lost. The set piece I'll also discuss later in the game, and with the penalty count even 3-3 including Labuskakni's yellow card, it was quite refreshing to see these both 2 teams keeping the discipline pretty good. Argentina under Checa haven't had the best discipline, but I think it's starting to get good at a very good time, so let's hope there are no implosions next week. We'll now discuss the second half because this is where things really start to heat up, guys. To begin the second half, I'm now going to show you guys a very interesting Argentinian take on the decoy runner. The attacking team for this animation is shown in black, with the defending team shown in white. The take, which we saw for the first time in this match, begins with a forward in a 2-man pod. One of them is the main distributor from first receiver. In behind this player's pod mate who is on the outside is the 10, who wraps around to the outside member of the pod as the outside pod member runs a decoy line. By wrapping around the outside member of the pod, the 10 forces the defending team's center to bite in, then opening space on the outside. With the defending team's 13 biting in, space is now available for the 10 to give a bullet pass to the winger, skipping the 13 as the attacking team's 12 runs a decoy line as well. As we cut to the game, Pesci fills in as the role at the inside member of this 2-man pod with Montoya on his outside. Leach looks to tackle Pesci as the black arrow shows us, while Santiago Chocobares is intending to get to Montoya's outside. Labuskakni is sucked in by Montoya's decoy line, which forces Fafita, who is for whatever reason defending from 13, to shoot up at Carreras. Knowing he's read the play, Fafita will be able to make a massive tackle on Carreras to stop the ball going to the wing, meaning the decoy line from Chocobares will be null and void. Only problem is, guys, Fafita hasn't read this attack. Chocobares is not a decoy runner. He's the main distributor of this attack, not the first receiver. Chocobares now runs straight at the gap between Fafita and Riley, with the animation I showed you guys at the start of the segment of the video being a complete facade. Riley somehow lands the tackle on Chocobares in an incredible show of defense, but with Cincy wrapping around, Nakamura comes off the wing where he's shifted to, which allows for the pass to go to Mateo Carreras in the end after all. Los Pumas though, as I said at the start of this video guys, they toyed with Japan big time. Japan's thinking they still have have a chance, take a few shots at goal, including a very well delivered drop goal as well. It's Lomano Lemeki to shoot it, however, not Takeya Matsuda. Himeno, the captain, and my best Japanese friend, is in the middle of a three-man pod flanked by Dunes on the inside and Sakati on the outside. Himeno looks keen to surprise Montoya and Petty by sending either a odd hands down the line play to the direction of Valu or a pop pass that Matsuda can receive from out the back. He chooses to take the ball into contact though after getting some communication from the backfield. Petty, who would have guessed, gets penalised for the referee for not rolling away, which gives Japan the chance to drop the goal. The part about this drop goal that is so intelligent is that Saitō can select the kicker himself. Matsuda and Lemeki are standing together, but with a pod of Cornelson and Miller standing together in front of Lemeki, he becomes a better option with a better shot, as Kramer is the only tackler who can legally follow the white arrow and realistically charge him down. Lemeki hits a beautiful kick to make the game a 2-point difference, but Los Pumas wake up from their catnap to apply some real heat. The heat they apply is a score that I just don't think Japan really mentally recover from. Argentina have a pretty simple yet very effective route to this score as well, guys. With no obvious structure, 5 players in frame and Mateo Carreras out of frame on the wing, Japan look incredibly perplexed, and we can see this in Nakamura's body language as he examines what Santiago Chocobares and Lucio Cinti are up to. Bertranu, however, intends to spice things up by giving the ball to Chocobares before detaching from the scrum, taking an inside pass, then allowing for Malia to wrap around on the outside, sending the try to Boffelli with the Amazon gift wrapping. This all works to absolute perfection, and I really do wonder how Wales are going to counter this one. The animation we see on screen is the traditional take on decoy lines as the decoy runners sprint towards the try line to relieve pressure of the key distributors in attacking moves before a winger scores in the corner. Japan create a near replica of the animation. What we see on screen is just obviously showing what the players outside those in the animation do. The bird's eye view shows us that Saitō can select either between a 3-man pod and his immediate outside, who can crash the ball up by targeting the gap between Chocobares and Cinti to potentially score. The second option for Saitō is to give the ball to Nakamura, who is both Riley on his outside and Matsuda wrapping around to get on Riley's outside. Riley holds the decoy line. By doing this, he holds Los Pumas in a 2-on-3 defensive situation as Matsuda takes the pass. Matsuda can still be tackled by Cinti, which means this is not an obstruction. With just enough space for Lemeki and Naikabula on the outside, Naikabula goes over to score thanks to this 2-on-1. Japan, though, they didn't look totally zen at the end of that second half, and Argentina do indeed put the score away from them. Mateo Carreras gets a hat-trick. I don't think there's really too much we can read into that though because of the way the missed tackles happen, and Nicolas Sanchez puts the scoreline out of reach with a final penalty to make Argentina the winners by 39-27. In the full-time stats we can now go over, despite Japan having a better share of the possession and a better share of the territory, that really doesn't tell us the full story. Argentina, because they had a bit more of a structured approach to this match, they had far more dominance of the meters run by the end of the match, and of course 10-6 clean breaks being made absolutely shows that to us, though Japan did beat more defenders. With the turnovers won, Argentina may not have been too good at the breakdown compared to normal, but what they were doing is they were winning them at the right time to get themselves out of jail compared to Japan, who were just trying to do it as often as they possibly could. And the tackle success though, this must improve for Los Pumas against Wales. If you're going to tackle at 76%, you're going to have a pretty tough time against Wales, who are just obsessed with getting the fundamentals, the basics right. Japan obviously did really well there, just they weren't making those tackles at the correct moments. They weren't quite reading Argentina's planned strategies because up until now, Argentina hadn't actually really shown much signs of a planned strategy at all. They had a shocker against the All Blacks and even more of a shocker against England. The line-out success though, I don't think we can read into that too much as well. Just one lost line-out for either side, but Argentina in the scrum, that is going to need some work. Wales have been egged on a bit, made fun of for not having the best props in the world, but ultimately I do think their props are definitely better than a lot of people give them credit for, with Argentina really failing against a much smaller pack to get a decent scrum success rate of 63%, which is, not their best work. Can they really deal with Wales, who are going to be a very similar size to themselves? We're really going to have to wait and see on that one. The penalty count, though, very interestingly, It was the same for both teams, but with Labuschagne being off the pitch when a try got scored by Argentina, it definitely helped them continue to hold that mental reinforcement. Argentina, throughout this game, were about as inconsistent as they've ever been. But the thing is, they were present, they were switched on for the most important moments. Wales and Argentina are both teams who tends to dominate matches in periods. We definitely saw this from Wales very early on against Fiji. They kind of switched off a little bit at the second half of that first half, I guess, if you will, the 20th to 40th minute, before they got back in, came back in the second half to definitely beat Fiji fair and square. Argentina, though, can they continue this discipline? Wales, far more tough at the breakdown, far more physically imposing. Can Argentina keep that discipline against Wales? That is a question for another day, in about 3 days' time or so after I've made this video. One more massive thank you to my patrons. Do remember as well, the rest of you guys, to leave your thoughts on this video down below. Japan and Argentina had a great game, so definitely like this one and subscribe to me if you enjoyed this video. Do support me over on Instagram, over on Threads, Rumble, and Odyssey as well, where you can view my analysis videos on week 1 and 2 of the World Cup. I've had a few copyright strikes issues, so been a bit of a tough time for a lot of creators. Let's all get around each other, let's celebrate rugby, and let's enjoy the quarterfinals. This is my final video before the knockout stages, so I hope you guys have a good time. Cheers for watching from Max.